morning, day 3, I guess. We're in Deadwood. We're not leaving here today. I mean, we'll be leaving the town of Deadwood at one point, I'm sure, just to go tour around. But we're going to keep the same campsite. So we don't really have to load anything up or pack anything up. As a result, we're kind of pretty relaxed this morning. We don't have to roll up any tents or anything. We're making some coffee in the jet boil. Maybe do a boil in a bag breakfast here before we go out and explore the Black Hills today. So yeah, the morning of day 3 was pretty relaxing. We didn't have to pack up camp because we were going to camp in the same spot again that night. We were just going to be day tripping it out of Deadwood that day. So yeah, we took our time that morning. We made coffee and boil in a bag scrambled eggs at the campsite before we saddled up and decided to do a little bit of tourist action right in the town of Deadwood. First thing on the agenda there was the Mount Moira Cemetery. Now that's where Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane are buried, so we had to go check that out.
You got 25 grand on the bubble, and you're the one telling me that you don't think you're in trouble. I might be a fan of your insolence, but that don't make you the innocent. You're just like the rest of those girls. They're all dead by diamonds and dead by diamonds and dead by diamonds and dead by diamonds and pearls.
Another neat point about the cemetery was this kind of overlook. There was this little point on the hill that the cemetery's on that you could kind of look out over the town, so that was kind of cool.
It's a cemetery, so it's sobering to walk through and look at the early 20th century, late 19th century graves, and how long people lived and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just I think a good reminder to ride safe.
We walked around the cemetery for a little bit before hitting the gift shop for a couple of stickers for the bags, and then we pushed on.
Okay, well, here we are. Today's journey is down to the Rough Rider game in Regina. As I am a Saskatoon native, to cheer for the Rough Riders, you have to take a 2.5-hour drive down to the city that rhymes with fun to watch the football. So my chauffeur today is Andy.
Hey.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about Big Trip 2011. We didn't really have a plan for the day, other than that we were going to just ride in the Black Hills. So the Black Hills is supposed to be a great destination ride, and so what we did is we basically just let our noses lead us to the nice roads.
I don't even remember what direction it was that we headed out of Deadwood. I think it might have been south, but we really didn't know where we were going. We were riding aimlessly, just kind of wandering. In fact, the entire day would be characterized by the phrase, "Hey, you want to go check that out?" And it wasn't too long before in front of me, Hammy pulled over and walked back to my bike and pointed to something on my map, this twisty little stretch of road, and said, "Hey, want to go check that out?" It was just up ahead. It was this little kind of side road that went off to a tiny little town called Silver City. Now the road was amazing. It was like nothing we had ridden up to that point, full of twists and turns. But with these new bags on my bike, these big old Happy Trails panniers, it took me a little while to finally get used to the bike again, going through these sweeping turns.
What we ended up with was one of the best rides of the day, and it was just a short detour into Silver City, and then even better yet, a gravel road leaving Silver City back to the same highway that we'd left to get there. So it was a nice little detour loop and worked out fairly well, and there was no Harleys.
We finally got to Silver City, which is this tiny little town of, I don't know, a dozen houses or so. I went over to Hammy's map, pointed at something and said, "Hey, you want to check that out?" And it was essentially a road going back to the highway we had just left, but on a gravel logging road. So that's what we did for the next little bit, was take this gravel logging road back to the highway. And again, it was another great road, just as twisty and steep as the paved road we had just taken into Silver City, but this was gravel and washed out in places, and it was really cool. This was the kind of road that we really liked to ride.
I might be a fan of your insolence, but that don't make you You're just like the rest of those girls. They're all dead by diamonds and dead by diamonds and dead by diamonds and dead by diamonds and pearls. Dead by diamonds and pearls. Dead by.
Unfortunately, that gravel road had to end and it spit us back out onto the main highway. It was at that point that we noticed, looking at the map, that we were near the Crazy Horse Memorial. So, hey, want to go check that out? And we did. Now, we had been warned that either Rushmore or Crazy Horse, as soon as you turn off the main road, they ding you for admission and Parks Pass and anything else they can. So we didn't really bother going into the Crazy Horse Memorial. We just parked real quick at the side of the highway and took a couple of pictures.
Your insolence, but that don't make you the innocent. You're just like the rest of those girls. They're all dead by diamonds and dead by diamonds and dead by diamonds and...
Woo! It's Crazy Horse! So after Crazy Horse, we had lunch in some town that whose name escapes me. We had pizza, and it was good, and I would recommend it, but that's going to be hard to track down. I'm sorry.
It was while we were in this town that we noticed in the distance, I can see at an intersection all kinds of old Humvees, like H1 Humvees, going through town like a convoy. And at first I thought it was, you know, just a enthusiast club, because the first two I saw were, one was black, I think, and the other one was just a kind of a green. But then I noticed that the green ones that were behind it were maybe kind of an olive drab green, and then the ones behind those were kind of desert camo. And it was pretty quickly we realized that this was some kind of exercise. The U.S. military was in the area doing some kind of exercises, and we'd actually be passing these Humvees for the rest of the day.
The next stop for us was the town of Hot Springs, where there is no hot spring.
We saw on the map that there was this town called Hot Springs. Geez, you know, I could go for a soak in some hot springs right now. I want to go check that out. So sure enough, we took off. We rode this amazing road down to the town of Hot Springs. Pulled into the gas station there and bought a bottle of water and some spits and stuff like that, and just kind of casually asked the lady, so where are the hot springs? What hot springs? Well, Hot Springs your town's named after. Oh, there's no hot springs here. There's a water slide park up the road though. We actually considered hitting the water slide park, but it was probably already about 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, so we decided screw it. And Hammy had heard of this road called the Needles Highway, and he wanted to go check that out. So he showed me where it was on the map and asked me if hey, you want to go check that out? I nodded, and that's where we headed.
I had heard about the Needles Highway because my wife had said, you don't go on the Needles Highway, it's dangerous. So that sounded like a lot of fun, and so we decided to go on the Needles Highway.
I figured out the grade of this collapse. The compass doesn't lie when it's holding me. I'd love a little faith with this afternoon. Give the sun a bomb when it's coming down. Working through the shame of this relapse. The mirror doesn't lie when it's scolding me. I'd love a little faith with this afternoon. And come quickly. Oh, I know I'm holding on to a ghost. I know I'm tangled up in your ropes. I know.
We started on the Needles Highway, and true to form, it was a very windy, very picturesque road through the forest, and it was fairly neat. Lots of wildlife signs everywhere, you know, slow down, wildlife, that sort of thing. We weren't going very fast or anything like that, so it was a fairly nice ride. We did pass a little bit of slow traffic, but you know, no big deal. And then we came to a sort of a big open grassy plain, and there was a herd of about 200 buffalo, maybe even more, I'm not sure, 200 to 500 buffalo. Didn't count.
It was while we were going through this national park that we came around one bend, and in this big huge meadow you could see a herd of buffalo, hundreds of them, crossing the road in front of us. It was clear we weren't going to make it across the road anytime soon, so we kind of pulled off to where the little ranger station was and watched these buffalo cross for the next hour.
Okay, so this is us at Custer State Park, and we've hit a traffic jam. It's rush hour in Buffalowville.
It's okay, I'm not
probably see over my shoulder a little bit of a traffic jam over there. So we've gotten off the bikes here. I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but it's not Hammy snoring this time. It's actually the several hundred buffalo over my shoulder there. Pretty cool.
You know, there was traffic backed up for some time for these bison to cross the road, and eventually that cleared out, and we thought we had a clear path to get through the bison.
As we were rolling up, a few of them ran back across to the other side, and we ended up getting involved in this crazy stare down with this one buffalo cow. Now normally it wouldn't be a big problem. These animals are usually pretty docile, but this one had been injured and she had this big gash down her side, and you could see the blood coming off, and she was just real antsy. She wouldn't let us pass. She was snorting and stomping her foot. I wear all the motorcycle gear I can, but I still don't think that would help me much against one of those beasts. So we had a little bit of a stare down with this buffalo before we finally got around her, and I can tell you that wasn't my favorite part of the day. My heart was beating pretty good.
Yeah, she was definitely unimpressed with my motorcycle and me, and didn't really want to have me on the road anywhere near her. Needless to say, it was an unfun situation, and if you can ever do anything to avoid being 10 feet away from a mad, wounded buffalo, I would recommend doing it, because it is not a fun situation to be in.
So we ran through the national park. Again, great roads. Anywhere in this area is great roads to ride on a motorcycle. Whether it's pavement, gravel, trail, whatever, we could not find a bad road in this area. It was just amazing to ride.
It's okay, I'm not A-okay right now. I know it's okay, I'm not A-okay right now. It's okay, I'm not A-okay right now. It's okay, I'm not A-okay right now. Not A-okay right now. I know I'm holding on to a ghost. I know I'm tangled up in your rose. I know.
In fact, the riding was so great, we kind of lost track of time. We looked down at our clocks, and I think it was like 6:30 or 7, and we were still an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away from our camp. So we kind of shut down riding for that day and turned off the electronics and just hit the interstate all the way back to Deadwood.
So we started making our way back to Deadwood, because it was right in the middle of Wild Bill Days, and one of the things we wanted to do was take part in Wild Bill Days. And you know, there's all sorts of fun things going on with Wild Bill Days. There's like this dog jump, there's reenactments of you know, the assassination of Wild Bill Hickok and the trial and all sorts of other stuff surrounding that. It's basically a big street party with cheap beer, which is our kind of thing. You know, we go for that.
Now, originally the plan was to get back to camp early enough to go check out some of the craziness of Wild Bill Days, but we didn't get back to camp until about 8 o'clock or so, and we were sweaty and gross and hadn't eaten. Hammy had a phone message from his wife that he really needed to return, so we just decided that's it. We stayed at camp. We got another bottle of rum, some mix, boiled up some supper, and did what we do best, and that's sitting around the campfire joking around.
The reason the camera's a little shaky right now and the light's a little questionable is because we didn't get back to camp until about 8:39. We're standing under a street light here so we can get enough light to do our quick little recap. It was a busy day. Started off with breakfast at camp and a little bit of coffee from the Jet Boil, and then we hit the road. Wish we could tell you what we were up to tomorrow, but quite frankly, we don't know. We're gonna head into Wyoming and check out Devil's Tower, just because we want to. After that, who the f knows?
We gotta go figure that out, so we'll let you know when we know.
Talk to you later.
Good night.